Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Aventuria. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here. Welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Aventuria by Ulysses Spiel. Now this is a current GameFound campaign, so you can check out the link down below, and this is a sponsored video, and this is also a prototype copy version in front of me, so all rules, components, things like that are subject to change, and this is prototype quality. With that being said, there is a playmat that you are able to use for gameplay as well. I highly suggest checking out their page to see all of that they have planned, because some of it is honestly pretty beautiful. Now, to talk a bit about Aventuria and get into the game, this is going to be a game where you are playing as those classic dungeon crawling type characters. So you're going to have different character decks that you're playing as, such as a rogue or a mage and things like that. And then you're going to be using your different decks to go through not only a adventure mode, but then you will go through a narrative mode, and then you'll go through a combat mode, completing different campaigns for you. Now this could be a one-shot arc, or it could be a multiple story arc. So depending on what you choose to play and how you choose to upgrade your characters, there are a whole bunch of ways to play this game. If you'd like to see exactly how to play this game, there will also be a playthrough on the channel in the future, so you can check that out as well. Now, as I said in Aventuria, this is both a game where you're going to have a battle element, but before that you're going to have a narrative element. So a lot of what you see in front of you is going to be during the battle phase, but first you're going to start off with your campaign book. So you'll use this to choose exactly which story arc you're going to be playing with, and then it's going to have you go through quite a few things, and this will be your narrative phase. So I'm just going to go through the very beginning of what this would look like for you, because it's a huge part of the game and how you start off in the beginning. Now here you can see how this is set up for Chalices of Power. This is Adventure 1, Saving Sylvana, and if this does sound interesting to you, this is actually what is played through on the channel, so you can see the different decisions that Alex and I choose to make. So now you can see that there are different color blocks here, and that's going to determine the different things that you do. For example, the ones here with blue and the fortunes, the green and blue, you're going to be drawing from this fate deck to determine what happens. However, the ones with the critical success all the way down to critical failure shows that you are able to make a roll to determine what's going to happen. Alright, so I am going to read through part of this just to give you a sense of the writing and what that's like and the different choices that you'll be making. But here we go, this is just the very first entry for this very first story arc. Your friend Jan Rasman has summoned you to a rundown quarter of the city because he urgently needs your help. The beautiful Sylvana has been kidnapped by treacherous pirates, and the kidnappers' tracks end at a ladder that leads down into a cellar. Jan doesn't know how many villains are hiding there, or if there are any other dangers lurking. You look at him in anticipation. Draw one fate card. So this is when you would draw a fate card, and this is predetermined by the cards that are shuffled and put here. Not predetermined, you know, they are all shuffled, but you don't have a role or a choice in what's going to happen. So we'll flip this over, and this is Great Fortune. That's amazing. So you would read the Great Fortune outcome, which is, Jan tells you with a glowing face about his love for Sylvana, and swears that he will not rest until he has freed her from the pirates' clutches. You all feel inspired by his heroism. Place one token on the Fellowship resource card. Now these resource cards are really important. They're how you're going to track what happens throughout the narrative game. So you are going to have these different cards available, and then you're going to look for the right one to put the different tracker on it. So for example, we want Fellowship. That's going to be right here. You're going to take this, put it into play, and it now has one token on it. That way, at the end of this narrative adventure, you'll be able to see the different tokens that are on different things and what those might mean for you. So that is how you would move forward with that, and then after that, the players would receive a fate. A fate are these coins here where you're going to be able to spend these to reroll. You wouldn't have them at the beginning of the game, and then you would be able to continue to the ladder. So you can see here is Motivating Jan, which is something that we may have needed to do if we weren't persuasive enough, but we are able to go straight to the ladder, which is going to be a roll. There's only one access to the pirates' hideout, down the ladder and through a closed cellar door. But you first must prove your prudence to keep quiet when climbing down. Each hero attempts a stealth test. Now to attempt a stealth test, you have your hero cards down here, and depending on your level, you're going to have a corresponding card that's going to show you all of your different attributes for those levels. So over here we have Sayana the Spider, and her stealth is a 14. But we have Carmel over here, and his stealth is actually actually a 12. So we would roll for him, let's say, and his would be an 18. Now in this game, you're trying to roll under, meaning that he would fail that stealth test. Now if you remembered, both players did have a fate, so he is able to spend that now to re-roll that test, which let's do just to see, we don't want anything bad to happen, and that is a 9. Now a 9 is underneath his stealth of a 12, which means that he is passing this test. However, everyone has to make the test, so let's move over to our rogue over here, who is a bit better at being stealthy anyway, and we will roll for her. And we also rolled a 9, which is great because her stealth is a 14, meaning that both players are going to pass that test. Now, once you do that, we don't have any critical successes, which would be 1s, but we do have just regular successes, which is going to be suddenly you realize that the first danger might already lurk behind that door, and you try making as little noise as possible when climbing down. So you are very quiet and you get to climb down a bit quieter. So you can see where this is going to start walking you through all of the different things that you're able to do. Depending on your rolls, it may skip you ahead to certain things, and they're going to have you make different choices as well. There are going to be certain points throughout the game where you can choose to inspect things further, go left or right, things like that, and you'll use all of these narrative points to put those different tokens on the cards that are out, make different choices, and then combat will begin. So before combat is triggered, the narrative element will wrap it all up for you and explain why certain things are happening, but then after that you will enter into combat with the big bad. Now, a slight spoiler for this current table, but you are playing against this blue goblin guy over here, and you actually have to guess his name before you are able to attack him. Now, there are henchmen that also come out that are attacking you, and you're also attacking them, but there are sometimes different narrative hooks and things that you are doing to interact with the big bad before you actually are able to take them out. So before players are able to attack him, they do have to go through the narrative element of being able to guess his name, and to do so, you would be making different tests based on craft, knowledge, and persuade. So you are using that to try to move ahead, and then you can use that to use your wiles to perhaps take him out, because a lot of these guys here will flee when there are no leaders, and he is the leader of this combat. So once he is gone, these guys will flee, which is something that you may want to do, but otherwise you will start attacking toward them, trying to take out as much damage as possible. Now, the table is also currently set up mid-game, so you can see that players already have endurance down here. So to walk you through everything that players need throughout the course of their turns and the game, you are going to have your player character cards here available, and those are going to give you your base statistics. You have your different attacks that you're able to do, whether it's melee, ranged, or magic. You also have your dodge, which you're able to do when opponents are attacking you. And you also have your inherent abilities. So for example, our rogue over here has a basic equipment of a knife, meaning that they are able to attack with their knife. However, when they play better weapons, they are able to attack for a bit better. They also have special abilities that can be activated once per game. And for this one, for example, is alertness. If your dodge test against an attack succeeds, you can prevent all damage from the attack. Because when you are dodging, you are taking half damage rounded up, and this would be a way for you to prevent all damage instead. So to go over the pace of play of the game, once you have both of those cards in play for you, that's what you're going to start off with, and then you are going to draw 5 cards. Once you have those 5 cards, you are able to mulligan, but after that, at the beginning of every turn, you will be able to draw 2 cards, and then play up to 2 down here as your endurance. So all of these cards are playable cards that players could have used throughout the game, but instead they made the choice to play it down here to their endurance to be able to play future cards. For example, this rogue here, if it was their turn, they have 3 cards available in their hand, and they have something pretty cool over here like the hidden dagger. So if I wanted to be able to play this hidden dagger, I would spend 2 of my endurance and tap it over, and then I would put my hidden dagger into play. Now this is one where you are going to play this card at any time, a body control test. An opponent of your choice loses 5 health, and then you discard the card. So this card isn't necessarily an attack, but it's something that you are able to do to quickly throw out and do some damage, versus these items here that are in play where you would be able to attack with. So you would have paid the 2 endurance, put that into play, used it, hopefully done some damage based on the body control test, and then after that this would be discarded. However, for the cards that do get to stay in play, a lot of them will typically cost you endurance as well to be able to activate them. So we have our Balestrina over here, and this is going to be a ranged attack, and it actually adds +2 for us when making that ranged attack. So our threshold to hit goes from an 11 to a 13, making it even easier to hit with this gun. But we do need 1 endurance to do so, so we will use that endurance, and we will use our gun, and then we're going to say who we are targeting. So we have this cowardly goblin over here. He doesn't even have any shields, and he has 6 health left, so let's try attacking him. So in order to attack him, we would roll, and again, we have that +2. We got a 2, which is fantastic. We absolutely hit him. And then after that, we're going to be able to see how much damage we do. So this one is going to do 1d6 + 3. So we'll roll our d6 here. We got a 3, so we do 3 + 3. If they did have a shield, you would reduce it, but then other than that, we would do the damage, and honestly, 3 + 3, I rolled it and didn't even plan that, but that 6 is enough to take out that goblin. So once they did have enough damage on them to take them out, you would then discard them from play, and then they are no longer a threat in attacking you when it is not the player's turn. Now, just to show you something else that's pretty cool that this player could have done, is they also have this item, Weapon Poison. So you could have also spent an endurance before attacking with that to attach this to a weapon. Now you can place it on a hero's weapon card, and it will do +1 damage. So while we did already use our Balestrina, we would be able to attach this to our longsword if we wanted to, and then our longsword would do an additional damage on top of what it normally does, but again, you would still need to hit to be able to do that. Now, if you ever miss on an attack when you're rolling against an opponent, you do take a fate coin, so you are able to do that if you don't already have one, and then you are able to use that in the future to re-roll whenever you need to. Now, there are many hero classes in this game. We looked a lot at the rogue because I tend to like rogues the best in games like this, but we also have a mage over here, and there are plenty of other heroes that you are able to play as. Now, the thing that's really important about this is that the decks are very, very custom depending on the class, as you would expect from a game like this. And I do think for the different archetypes that you see, it's done very, very well, that you start seeing how certain things work together, such as body endurance for this rogue, to be able to use those daggers and throw them and do a little bit of extra damage. So it is pretty cool that you can see the synergy and why certain things are happening. For example, a lot of the melee characters, such as a dwarf, does not have a magic attack, things like that. So you only have access to certain things depending on your class and what makes sense for you. Now, if you are playing for any of the story arcs where you're going through a campaign, you're also able to level up your characters. They would get a better special ability. You also have other cards that you're able to move into your deck depending on the points that you are awarded at the end of the different arcs. So there's a whole lot that you're able to do with your different characters. So again, looking at our rogue over here, you can see that their basic attacks start at melee is 12, ranged is 11, they have 8 for dodging and no magic attacks, but you can see as they level up, they will get a bit stronger and stronger. So at level 2, their ranged attack will go up to a 12 as well, and their special ability is a bit better. But if you look all the way at level 3, they actually even get an additional basic equipment, which would be a ranged attack, meaning that it gives you a whole lot more flexibility for the different items that are being pulled from your deck as you are drawing them, and your dodge will also go up. So you can see how things like that will escalate, but to also show you another example, here we have our longsword, and you can see that it only does this base attack for damage. However, if you look at this card here, this is a rapier for level 3, and you can see that depending on the amount of endurance you are able to pay, you can attack for more and more. So if you did only pay 1 endurance, you would attack for 1d6 + 3. However, if you were able to pay 3 endurance, you could attack for +2 to the attack threshold, and then you would roll 1d6 + 5. 1d6 + 5, that could be 11 damage. So you can see as you go from level 1 to level 3, you're getting stronger and stronger. And something else that's really fun to note is that there is alternate art on the other side of the cards. So there is male and female, and there's absolutely no difference whatsoever besides your preference. So you are able to choose whatever you want to do with that as well. Now, as players continue with Aventuria and learn more and more about the game, there are also things called disadvantages which can get shuffled into your deck. For example, this is a Scar Cramp. When you draw this card, discard it. During the current round, you may only make a maximum of 1 attack. So you can see how these things will start affecting you as you are playing throughout the game. There's a lot of things that will come into play, but as you are customizing your character and their deck with the different rewards that you get as well, you will still feel stronger and stronger as the game is feeling stronger with you. Aventuria is going to be a very satisfying cooperative puzzle where you are playing through all of these different cards and having these epic battles with the enemies, but one of the funnest parts about it is going to be that narrative element and going through the different story hooks and seeing who's able to do something best. Perhaps you have someone that's able to stealth and get something sneakily for you. Perhaps someone can charm someone else, or maybe you just need someone to break the door down to get inside. This has been a preview of Aventuria. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Co channel, and if you'd like to see exactly how this game plays, be sure to check out the gameplay between Alex and I. I've been Professor Meg, and I will see you all next time. Bye!